Hi and happy Friday. Today I'm going to be painting a metal container full of purple delphinium. And what I like to do is sketch in the bottom container before I start painting because that is the only thing that tends to kind of want to grow disproportionately to the rest of the painting. So this is a quick painting. This is an easy painting. I'm using a number 5 Princeton Velvet Touch brush, which is a little firm. It's got a little bit of firmness to it. So I really like it for doing paintings like this. So I am mixing up some Payne's Gray and some French Ultramarine. And I was going to do wet on dry, but then I didn't like the way that felt. So I kind of wet out the rest of the container. And then we're going to drop in a little bit more Payne's Gray and French Ultramarine on either side of the container, a little bit along the top because the plants are going to line that and cause a shadow. And now I've got a couple of greens and a couple of purples. And what I'm doing is going in with an olive green mixed with a little bit of phthalo green. I like to have a bunch of greens. As you can see on my palette, I've got a bunch of greens that I've been playing with. So it kind of does the work for you when you're not picking or poking at one color of mixing the colors on your painting. If you've got a nice little lump of paint like you have there. I've always felt that with watercolor, you can never really replicate it if you wanted to. Replicated the painting if you wanted to because the water goes everywhere. And so I like to have a nice little combination of greens that have run into each other that I pick from when doing any kind of a floral. So I've got an Imperial Purple, it's Daniel Smith, and some French Ultramarine Blue there. And I'm going to start out with a watery pile that leans more towards the blue because the reference photo that I got that I was looking at on Pinterest, the flowers leaned a little bit more towards the blue. And these at the bottom are more like a sweet alyssum kind of flower, a little bit bigger. But we're going to drop those in first. And what I like about I drop the green in and then I drop the purple over it. I very rarely have had a bad purple and green combination. A lot of times I will mix purple into my green to tone it down. So I didn't leave a lot of white space for those purple flowers, and I just kind of wanted them to mix together like they do. And now I'm taking my more of a blue phthalo green and going pretty dark along the bottom. Again, the flowers are causing that area to be in shade or in shadow. So I want it to be pretty dark along the bottom. And I'm going to have to go in a few times, but you want to dot a little bit of that in. There's also a little bit of greenery hanging over the edge. So we're going to bring that down and plunk in a few little purple flowers on top of it while I do that. And I'm liking the effect that I'm getting. I do like the way the steel pot is drying. And we're going to go in and drop in a little more bluish purple. You can just use the tip of this tiny brush to dot those colors in. And take a look at it. It's looking okay. I want to get the bottom done and then come in and do the big stalked flowers at the end. I love these. I love delphinium. They're gorgeous, and they seemed a little darker. They were in the photo. They're more closed up at the top, and so the flowers do appear darker in color. So we're going to do darker at the top. And it's just a little kind of a dancing around with your brush. What you don't want to do is do the same shape. You want to kind of it's kind of like a pine cone where there's a dot at the top, a couple dots below that, 3 dots below that, and then you're just really moving it around so that it's not just, you know, uniform. You don't want uniform sizes on your strokes. And so dance it around. We're going to go over and do the other one. I just thought this arrangement was so pretty on Pinterest and really caught my eye. And everybody is painting right now. All the lilacs are in bloom, and you know, these late spring blooms are so beautiful. And I just thought I wanted to paint delphiniums. So the blues and purples really get stuck in your head this time of year. Everything that's in my yard that's blooming is, I've got purple lilacs, a lot of blue and a lot of purple. And so we're coming back in now. You do your first wash with a, not dripping wet when you do your first one, but you want it a little damp. And then you're going to go in with, I'm going back in with just pure French ultramarine on top of the light purple. And then I'll mix in a little more purple. You want to kind of move your brush back and forth between the blue and the purple to give yourself a nice variety. And then at the very end, I'm adding one that's a little more leans towards the pinks. I have a pinkish purple. I'm not quite sure what that color is, but I find that it complements the purples and the blues nicely. So if you've got more of a magenta color, excuse me, my dog's snoring. Be quiet, Winston. Shh. I would at this point dabble in a little bit of a more pinky purple or a magenta purple. And you can even go right over the purple, blue, and magenta are just such beautiful colors together. And then you're going to come in. I have an olive green that's mixed in there that was new that I bought yesterday at Dick Blick, and I love it. And I mixed it in with my sap green. Again, it just gives you such a nice variety of color. And the delphinium have these beautiful green stalks at the top with unopened little pods on them that I think just add such a nice look to the flower. And I'm going in to the top of all of these. I'm a little unhappy with how thick my stalks are, but we're going to bury a lot of that in foliage. And this particular arrangement had some bigger leaves at the bottom, which I loved, kind of blue-green leaves. So I'm going in and just doing some basic leaf shapes, little V's that look like birds, and this little number 5 round is perfect for that. And the Velvet Touch has enough spring in it. It's not real mushy like the Neptune brushes. And so I find that it's easier to make these shapes with this brush. And I'm just going through and putting in these bigger leaves. And a little darker. There was a little... and really then dropping back in some more of the dark green that kind of disappeared. You can see it kind of washed out into the container. And so we're going to go along the bottom again and really darken that up. Get it to the correct value. And then I kind of dance around here and there and put in some shadow spots where they belong. Get your shadows back in there. And I just noticed I'm doing my voiceover downstairs, and my husband got me a new fountain in the background from Costco. So if you hear running water, it is my new fountain for Mother's Day. And I don't know if the audio is picking it up or not. So now I'm coming in with some Payne's Gray and Ultramarine to put in this dark shadow underneath. And it actually ended up kind of looking like the rim of the pot, which is fine. But I just really wanted to get that dark area in there. And now what I did really like about this reference photo is there is like terracotta tile underneath this beautiful metal container and these beautiful purple flowers. And it was just such a pleasing color combination to me. So I'm going to put in a very rough terracotta tile floor underneath it. And it did have like water stains on it like that. I love that kind of earthy tile look. So I'm just dropping in some Rose Dorado, a new color from Winsor Newton that I got yesterday, mixed with some yellow ochre, which is also a new Winsor Newton color that I got yesterday. And then you take the back of your brush, which is kind of, this one has kind of an edge to it. And I just real quickly put in the indication of tile. And if you go back in with a little bit more pigment, it's just going to give you this nice, I don't know, it draws your eye to the painting. And I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then I'm going in along the bottom with some Payne's Gray and Ultramarine Blue. I will share the link of all of the colors that I used here. Again, they were Daniel Smith, mostly Daniel Smith and Winsor and Newton. So I'll put the links below. And so we're going to fill in the shadow area again. And it's looking a little off balance to me. And there are some flowers that should be cascading over the front that kind of disappeared. So put in some more green leaves with some olive green, and I'm going to add some little bit of purple flowers on there and just kind of make that a little less blurry up front. And again, deepen the shadows where you can on the bottom, and I'm adding some little dark leaves throughout. And again, this brush is great to just use it. It really creates leaf shapes just by pushing it down and lifting it up. So I'm putting in some nice pointed leaves throughout this. And now I'm going to balance it on the other side because there were 6. I always try to have an uneven number of flowers. It's just aesthetically looks better. So I'm going in with my purple, my Imperial Purple mixed with my French Ultramarine, and then adding the greenery to the top and putting in the darker right away so that it runs right in there. I just love Delphinium. They're just the prettiest flowers. And so I'm going to, while I have the dark pigment on, kind of darken up the bottoms there, get a little bit more greenery. And I'm going to put just some plain green stalks over to the left without the flowers on them. It just feels a little naked off to the sides of this. And so I'm going to pick a few spots to add a little bit of greenery. I think that kind of balances it out nicely. And over here. And again, just kind of dance your brush around there. Drop in a little more dark. And at the very last, what we're going to do is I'm going to probably deepen that. We're going to deepen that shadow again on the bottom, but I've got a Faber-Castell white pen to finish off here at the end to kind of lighten the flowers on the bottom. And what I like about it is it's white, but it's not super white like, the no bleed Dr. what's his name's no bleed white. It more kind of highlights whatever you're working on. It's like tofu in Chinese cooking where it takes on the flavor of whatever it's with. This white kind of just turns into this beautiful light purple when you add it to the top with these Faber-Castell pens. So we'll do that at the very end and kind of deepen up this tile again with some just like water, even kind of water stain marks of where the plant got watered. I just do want to say before we finish here too with the pen, if you do paint this, I'd love to have you join us over on Facebook. It's Creating with Christine Marks. And we have a nice small group of ladies that share their paintings over there. It just started it a couple of weeks ago. And I'd love to see your creations because we're not able to share them on YouTube. The comments section doesn't allow for photos. And so join us over on Facebook. And let's finish this up with some nice white pen. And I took it right out of the bag, so I had to then play with it, scribble it on a piece of paper. But it just gives it this nice touch. So I hope you like this. I hope you're enjoying all the purple flowers that are everywhere now, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I will be back tomorrow morning with an art chat, and have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me.